Hey everyone, it's Maury Curtis Dunbar here from Painted Studio. It is a sunny Sunday. It is. I don't even know what day of the week it is. It is a sunny Tuesday here at the studio, and we're working on some new projects. We're having some fun. We're going to do a little old world finishing paint. And as you can see, my angle. Hey David, nice to see you. My angle's different today. Facebook's not letting me turn the camera the way I need to get it a wide angle, so we're going to be working narrow today. I hope you all understand. Okay, so first thing I wanted to do is show you all the results of the phone cases that we did the other day. Excuse me, I am exhausted today. I had a very weird night's sleep last night, so I have huge... I don't have baggage, I have luggage under my eyes. So, hey Martin, how are you? So to follow back up with what I was starting with the other day, now, just these are the cases that were finished. Now this is the one that has been on my phone for months. And what I warned you about is exactly what happens with these flexible bumpers. The epoxy and stuff wants to chip off. Now I just threw another coat of epoxy on here and I'll get the most use out of it I can. David and Martin don't have a fight on my live about being back at work. All right, this was our Americana geode. I think that came out so cute and so festive for the summer. This one I'm in love with. Look at our just gorgeous, gorgeous tiger print one that we did the other day. Hey Karen, hey Lori, nice to see you all. And then this is the one that we did, the last of the geodes that we did on the cases that were silicone. I haven't even tried to clean off any of the little dribbles because I have a feeling one little thing and this whole thing is just going to delaminate. So we're just going to leave it all as it is, say thank you. I'm glad it stuck at least to one because if you watched the video the other day, the entire finish peeled off this one. This is exactly how it started. Oh my goodness, you all are here. Thank you all, everybody. All right, so I'm going to flip the camera down. We're going to start with Old World finishing paint. Now you can see I am working with a piece. This is poplar, right from Home Depot, nothing fancy. So one of the things Old World finishing paint does, now I'm going to give you a little, I'm going to flip back up here because I may have to tell you a little bit more about how the watch was made before I tell you what time it is. Old World finishing paint is a Faux Effects chalk style paint. It comes in gallons and it comes in quarts. It comes in several colors and it comes in a tint base. This product is very mineral based, water based, easy cleanup, obviously being water based. However, it's, hey Minetta, oh my gosh, you all are just busy here today. Okay, so this is tint base. This is a product that is interior rated only, and it is not a standalone product, meaning you can't just put it on something and walk away and that's done. It must be top coated. This has very, very, very little binder in it. So to make it permanent to what you're working with, you need to have either a top coat or a wax on it to penetrate and seal it to the, excuse me, I swallowed funny, seal it to the surface below. You can do this, use it over raw wood, you can use it over painted wood, you can use it over stained wood. We're gonna do raw wood today and we're gonna do basic 101 with this. So the first thing I'm gonna share with everybody is that this is a great grain sealer. As in, you got raw wood and you wanna paint it, but you know, when you paint wood, oftentimes the grain pops. Well, this product seals it. So all you're gonna do is brush on a very thin, sorry, this pot is almost dry, so I'm digging into what is left. A very thin, watery layer on a piece of wood or on your project. And you can barely see it on here right now, and when it dries, it'll dry ashy white. And it'll just have sort of a haze. And we'll look, so I'm gonna throw that over there. It's gonna look like this, because I did actually get organized and do a few of these the layers ahead of time so we can kind of move a little faster. So this is what that same wood looks like. You can see it's got kind of a chalky white look. Now I'm gonna flip the camera down so you all don't have to look at my gray roots, which I have just come to terms terms with. Maybe we'll call it a new hair color by the end of all of this. And we're going to go down here. So let's see if I can get this centered just a little better. I'm not used to working with the narrow camera frame. I'm used to having a little wider space to work around. Unfortunately, that's not my option. So the next thing we're going to do, and I did say that these come in wonderful colors, we're going to apply a layer of our Old World Finishing Paint in Sapphire. Now this is a new can, so this mixes up really nicely. And I already had it open once today, so it may not even need to be stirred. Yep, it's in good shape. And this is what it looks like in the can. And it's kind of heavy, sort of tomato bisque consistency. And that's really what you want. Sorry, I'm wiping up. I just washed all these brushes, so they're a little damp. And then you're going to take it and apply one smooth, even coat. You can use a chip brush. You can use any kind of brush you want. I personally prefer paint brushes that are like this, 1 inch, 2 inch wide. Nylon or Taklon bristle. I find that the finer bristles apply paint smoother on furniture. This product, being that it is mostly minerals and a little bit of liquid binder, dries very quickly, and it will dry substantially lighter than what you're seeing here. Like any mineral product, it dries lighter than, what the heck is in there? Oh, there's a chunk of something in my paint or on my piece. All right, so I'm obviously going back and forth, smoothing it out over the surface. I'm just catching all my edges here. And we have one smooth, even layer. Now I'm gonna go throw these back in my hot box, and I'll be right back. Depending on how long this takes, we may do alternate versions of what I'm creating right now. I'll put that brush away. And like I said, I was well organized. I actually did these in layers. I'm just putting those back there to dry. So you can see this dries substantially lighter. Like all mineral products, this is one of those products that's gonna dry a lot lighter. And the nice thing is this product dries so fast, you can force it dry with a hair dryer, no problem. It does not affect the way the paint grabs. And then the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna apply, oh gosh, very wet brushes. We're gonna apply a layer of Old World Finishing Paint in Mustard. Now you can, with the tint base, you can tint these any color you want. You can use any tints that are good with water-based products. Of course, I always recommend Faux Effects, Faux colors and Faux cream colors. And see how nicely this just layers right over it. And I'm, again, applying one smooth, even layer. If I needed it more opaque, I'd let it dry and do a second layer. And I try to make things so that I only have to take one pass, because as professionals, every pass you take is a charge you have to pass on to your client. So I like to do things that keep all of this as affordable as possible. All right, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna take this into the hot box and I'll be right back. All right, and we're gonna have a little fun. We're gonna do 3 layers of color, and we're gonna have some fun seeing how those colors apply and why. Because I haven't explained why I'm applying different layers of color. So we'll get to that stage later, and I'll explain exactly why I'm doing it, but not just yet. I like to keep a little mystery in the air. Okay, dry off one more brush. And this is Old World Finishing Paint in Steel. So we have used cobalt blue, I'm sorry, sapphire blue, mustard, and steel to paint layers on. And again, not trying for 100% perfect opacity, but if I needed it, I could do that. I could just wait, let it dry, put another layer on. And I might do that, especially since this is the top color layer. If I wanted to, I might just do exactly that, so I had a completely smooth, consistent surface to work with. But I know what I'm going to be doing here, and it's a little less important. All right, let me go throw that back in the hot box. And if you notice, I'm going to share something, a little painting tip. As you notice, I'm not doing this. Why? Because that shows brush marks in the middle. I am going smooth strokes back and forth all the way to the end so that you don't see where my brushing starts and where it's ending. If I needed to pick something up, now if I was doing this on a larger piece, I would be moving from dry into the wet because that will give me a smoother blend. And I lost track of what I was going to say there. Thought went in my head, totally went out the other side. Oh well, let me go put this in the hot box. Okay, sorry, I pulled the plug out on the hot box, and I know for those that are asking it, the hot box is a drying box that we use to speed dry time so I can come back to you with this much faster. Now this is still a little damp. I can feel it. It's still a little darker and it's got a coolness to it, but I can quickly apply because this has only got the blue on it. So I'm going to show you the difference between what happens when we put 2 layers on versus 3 layers of colors. So I just wanted to quickly apply this steel gray over our blue, and then I'm going to put it right back into the hot box and we'll move on to the next step. And the other thing I was saying, now I remember what I was saying, is that you don't want to have your brush going in like that because it creates unpleasant marks. So even if you had to clean up something in the middle and you didn't have a clean way to lead into this, you kind of swoop in and lift up your brush before you get to the end. I'm doing it in a very exaggerated way, but what that does is eliminate from where you plop your brush down and lift it up so you don't have those sharp marks. Let's put that in the hot box and I'll be right back. Ooh, this is gooey. It's a wet one. All right, so all those other ones are drying, but we do have, again, one that I completed with all the layers ahead of time. Now this has the cobalt blue, the sapphire blue base, mustard yellow, and the steel gray. Close these cans and get some other stuff that I need right over here. So there are a couple ways to deal with distressing, because this is one of the best paints. Sorry, I'm caught on my chair. This is one of the greatest paints for distressing I've ever dealt with. It sands like velvet. So I can take this, very fine sawdust from it and super smooth, but I hate sanding. So there are other ways to distress this that are far more effective. Now you're gonna see I have 2 different rags. This is a terry rag. This is a t-shirt rag, and obviously it's been well used. I have used this for distressing a lot. The coarser the fabric, the more aggressively you're going to wipe back your paint. But because this paint has no binders, we can wipe back and wet distress really easily. So I can take my rag, and you can see I'm already starting to go through the gray and into the yellow. And then I can continue on through the yellow down to the blue. And I'm going slowly because I don't want to distress so aggressively that I miss a color. So now you can see I've got all 3 colors exposed. And I can even go further than that and go down and expose all the way to the wood. So let me go a little more aggressively on one spot over here. And see, I'm starting to get wood right there. And I love how this is gonna distress. And you can now determine whether you want this really gray with a little yellow and a little blue, whether you want it very yellow with a little gray. I mean, this is, your color options are completely up to you. So I'm gonna play with this for a minute. Since this is a color combination I have not created before, so I'm gonna be interested to see how this goes. Now, I really like how this is rubbing through. And also, I'm gonna share a little sample hint. When you do samples like this, make sure you distress all the way to the ends, not just in the middle. Otherwise you get sort of a halo picture framing on your finishes and it doesn't look good. It's the same thing, you can do the same thing on a piece of furniture. And you want to distress in a way that looks natural. So obviously the high points on something distress much more than down low, but also don't distress in dots. Don't create a little dot here, don't create a little dot here. You don't need it to look like it has the chicken pox. You want organic, natural looking distressing. If you don't know what that is, if you're not sure how your distress should look, go, look online. Go see what you can find on old pictures. There's tons and tons and tons of examples all over the World Wide Web, as it's called, that will show you just what old distressed furniture looks like, and you can have a lot of fun with it. Hey Kathleen, hey Maddie, I love that you're all here. Thank you for joining me today. So I'm going to rub through a little bit more here because there's very little blue showing on this one. Now I like this. This is going to be kind of a classic look, very sleek and elegant. And I'm going into the crevices too with my rag because that'll smooth out the brush strokes. It's like sanding them out, only I just wipe them down. And like I said, you can distress as much or as little as you want. I just want to see a little more blue peeking out in a few spots. And as you can see, I'm not distressing even on the places where I'm just trying to get a little exposure. I'm not distressing just like that because it'll look like a little funny polka dot. You have to kind of distress where it would rub, and you kind of have to get the idea of that movement of how something rubs against a spot and wears it away. All right, now this already looks really cool. You can see all these great colors distressed through. You can see some of the wood, but we have to seal this. And I like to tone this. I think this is just a little dull as it is right here. And I know I brought myself over some mixing cups and I just set them out of my way. Oh well, here they are. Here's one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a glaze to go on here. Whoops, throwing things. And I put my glaze down on the other side of the table. Hang on. You know, every time I think I'm perfectly organized, I've left something somewhere. It's a wonder I get out of the house in the morning. I know you all. Hey, Kathy, nice to see you. Oh, it's so good to have everybody joining in. This is a fun one. All right, so I'm going to take, you can use any quality glaze. The one I'm using today is the Artsyville glazing medium. It has great open time. But if you have other glazes that you prefer, I'm going to tell you right now, do not use stuff like the Benjamin Moore glazes or the Sherwin-Williams glazes. Not because they're bad products, but because they have terrible open time. The glaze itself is fine if it would stay open and stay wet longer, but it won't. So I'm just scooping a little bit of this in here and I mixed it up. This is a terrific glaze with great open time. Faux Effects glazes are also excellent glazes, both Faux Cream and Aqua Cream are my two favorites that I use all the time. But today we're using Artsyville, because this is a wonderful glaze and I love it. And yes, I carry it. So we're going to tint it with a little Faux Effects Asphaltum Transoxide. This is a great neutral. It's not red, it's not blue. It's a kind of got a little ashy hint to it, but not a lot. Colorant. And if you're going to ask me how much I put in, the answer is until I get it to the color I want. That is always my answer. That's not, I want my glaze to be a little richer, a little darker, really pack a little color impact on here. All right, so I've mixed it nice and dark. If I wanted to, I could tweak it with just a little blue, since I'm kind of feeling like I want to just grab a drop or two of blue in that, just to make it a cool glaze to work with that ashy, with that steel gray color. I'm not making it a blue glaze. I'm just taking the brown to a blue direction. And people ask me how I know this stuff, and I honest to God, I don't know sometimes how I know it all anymore. Anybody who is trying to figure some of these things out, like how do I get to those colors, I would suggest looking at color theory books. They're really helpful. Hey, Carolyn, nice to see you. Gosh, you guys are all here. This is such a nice day when I get to see all of you. And my brushes are all in water, so let me grab another clean brush, and we're going to show you the magic. Okay, I've got my cheesecloth. Best cheesecloth on earth. Thank you, Martin, for sharing your source with me. So now your people can get the cheesecloth right from me. All right, so I'm going to take my glaze. You can see that it's rich and deep. It's got a hint of blue. It's asphaltum transoxide and custom blue faux cream colors, and I'm going to brush it on. And this will completely alter the way the paint colors read. You're going to go from kind of bright and harsh to very subtle and very old world. So I've brushed that on. Oh, my cheesecloth stuck together. It's not the cheesecloth, it's I spilled paint on the roll. I'm gonna take a couple pieces here because I hate working with cheesecloth and not having enough. And I'm making a pad. This will keep my fingerprints from showing in the wiping down. And that just became infinitely more rich and elegant looking. Oh my gosh. Look how gorgeous that just came out. It just changed it, and it's very, very old world. Super easy finish, very quick. Love this one. Now I've got the other one in the hot box in the back. I'm gonna bring the blue one out. Hold on a sec. That other one that I just put the gray over the blue is not drying fast enough. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna expose, this is the other one that we applied the 3 layers over. So we're gonna expose those a little more so you can see the difference how you expose it reads on these things. Let me move that out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. So again, I'm gonna go back and forth. What this really does is it re-wets the paint and wipes it off. I'd like to see, I'm going to see a little more blue. Somebody called me and I forgot to turn off my do not disturb. I don't know who it was. I hope it wasn't critical because I didn't even stop long enough to look. So I want to rub back as much more color down this time. So I want to get down more to the blue and make the gray and the yellow more of the enhancement and less of the focus. Okay, oh, I love this. This is such a pretty technique. Oh, I really like glazes. And what'll happen is where the wood's exposed right here, you're going to get the stain grabbing there, and I may or the glaze grabbing there, and I may even intensify the color on the glaze to make sure we get a little more grab into the wood. Oh, I'm using the harder rag to do this. See, that's what I was going to show you. This fabric is much softer, so my pull-off is more controlled. This one will take it off more aggressively, which is what I'd used before, and I was going through everything more quickly. So here we go. We're going to come through this now. Now, if I really needed to cut through it faster, I could do it with the sandpaper. My issue with the sandpaper for me personally, A, I hate sanding anything. And B, I kind of don't control the sandpaper as well as I can control this. I can put as much pressure and not cut through too much paint and end up with almost bare wood by accident, because yeah, I've done that. All right, let me get my water. I gotta make bottles of colorant out of the way so I don't knock them over while I'm reaching into my water cup. And this will take, the more layers you put on, the more work you have to do to get them off, obviously. This is why I try not to do more than one layer of each color, simply because I don't want to work that hard if I don't have to. I mean, you know, basically I'm taking off as much paint as I put on. So if you put on 2 layers, then you're wiping off 2 layers. That's a lot of work and a lot of wiping. Keep going here. And I'm just going to make this the more distressed end, and then this side. And you can see though, when I get it wet, I can move some of the paint color and transfer it into other colors, which is fine. That's not a bad thing, but just you need to be aware that that's part of what can happen when you wet distress. So now you can already see, I mean, these two were painted identically, and look at the difference the level of distressing makes. Totally different pictures, or totally different finished looks. I'm painting a different picture is what I was trying to say, and it came out wrong. And this is how a lot of these companies that are making the very similarly done kind of ideas, that they're doing all these old finishes with newer products, and this is kind of how it's done, only doing it this way is so fast. There's no sanding in between layers, there's no creating a chemical reaction between layers. This is 3 layers of paint on quickly and rubbing it back fast. So look at that killer finish. I'm going to take my color here, my glaze. I'm going to add a little more color because I want this to be a little bit darker. A little bit more blue. Where did I put my stir stick? Here's one. And I've made glazes that were very light and very delicate. I've made glazes that are very dark and very aggressive. And you can see this glaze is already darker than the one we used on the other piece. And this changes, again, the way these colors read, it makes them so rich. That yellow comes a little bit greenish, super rich looking. And again, I can pat it and get a stippled look on here. Like you can see, I can get a little stipply look, which is really nice. Or I can wipe it back to go with the grain and have all that stipple disappear. Sorry, I'm throwing the wood across. And look, this is, I mean, that's gorgeous. And then when this is dry, it still has to be top coated. So I can wax it, or I can put a Varnish Plus over it, whatever I want. You can see over here already, this is all, you know, this is halfway to dry. So we're looking at exactly the same application of paints, a little deeper, richer glaze, and a total different look when you do the distressing and change your glaze a little bit. And these are gorgeous. I mean, think about what a killer kitchen cabinets these would be with, you know, beautiful blue walls or something. I mean, God, look how pretty those are. So that, folks, I just wanted to give everybody a little introduction of Old World finishing paint. I love this product. It's super easy to use, super user-friendly, easy to use, similar things, but not exactly. It's designed so that even if you make a mistake, it's easy to be corrected. And heck, if before I had put the glaze on, actually while the glaze is still wet, if I didn't like it, I could take it to the sink and just wash it off. I mean, if I get a color combination I don't like, all I have to do is wash it literally off the surface and I can start fresh. It is probably the most versatile of the chalk style paints I've ever worked with. It has its tricks like every other product, but it is so awesome to work with. And you just saw how easy it is to work with. Oh, Leanne, you bought a gallon of it years ago and never opened the bucket. Oh, that reminds me. Thank you, Leanne, for saying that. When you get your containers, especially if you're not going to use them right away, store them upside down. Because this is minerals, all the minerals want to settle at the bottom here. And so when you open it up, you have to stir them up and lift them off the bottom. If you store them upside down, and if you keep your lid frames clean, which I'm notorious for not doing, the rims of your lids, you can seal it back up and turn it upside down and keep it that way on your shelf. Just make sure it's well sealed, because then all the heavy stuff comes to here. Flip it over, it mixes up well. Over an existing finished cabinet, yes, David, it does need to have a primer. I'm sorry, nobody, you're gonna have to deal with whatever's under there and seal it up and get it ready. It could be a clear primer. You might need nothing more complicated on there than a layer of Set Coat Clear if it's fine. You might need more aggressive primers. You can use a white primer, you can use a dark primer, it depends on what your final look is gonna be, but always on cabinetry, unless it's raw wood, you're gonna need a primer, period. Oh, Leanne, thank you. Again, I just really will you get the crackle effect if, I'm sorry, I'm gonna scroll back down. David's asking, if one not totally dry before adding the second layer? No, David, this paint doesn't crackle. It's not designed that way. As a matter of fact, if you want it to crackle intentionally, it takes some work. And I spent about a couple months playing with the crackles to make it crackle. So this, I can lay it on top of each other wet and it's not completely dry. I can lay it on each other dry. It doesn't crack. It doesn't shrink and crack. It's super fast drying. So all that happens is the moisture from the layer on the top goes down and it goes up and it just dissipates, no cracking. All right, I think I'm gonna take a quick scroll back and see if I've missed any questions. Oh, Carolyn, I'm sorry, your phone's dying. Oh my gosh, all of you are here. Thank you so much. It was great seeing you all. Okay, so again, Old World finishing paint comes in great colors. The other thing I'm gonna tell you is that you'll never get to a black with this, and you're never going to get to a perfect dark blue. These are mineral paints, which means like anything that has minerals or lime or anything like that, and it wants to dry lighter. So that's what it's going to do. If my personal suggestion is, if you need a black color or a dark color, check and see what they already have in the pre-made colors, because it takes a lot of colorant to get it dark. And I personally say, just if you need like a dark berry red, buy the berry. If you need black, buy their coal. Just check their color charts and see what's close to what you want so that you can tint accordingly, as opposed to dumping half a bottle of colorant into the tint base to get it deep enough. All right, everybody. I think I've babbled along long enough for a while. I'm gonna let these dry. We'll probably do some more Old World finish. Oh, Ashley just got the coal and loves it. It is a beautiful black mineral paint and it dries ashy black. Oh, you put gold foil under it. Oh, Ashley, that has to be pretty. I've done a lot. Today was Old World Finishing Paint, basically Old World Finishing Paint 101. This is a basic finish. I'm going to leave our Old World Finishing Paint out. We'll do some more stuff in the next couple of days. I'll teach you about the activator. I might even teach you a specialty finish or two, but this is the traditional application. It's layers of color, rubbed back, glazed to tone, and then top coated. You will love it. You will not be sorry that you tried this product. Once you get the feel for it, it's cool stuff. All right, everybody, have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.